We get a lot of calls at our company. I get a lot of calls. My staff take a lot of calls. There's a lot of calls from borrowers. There's a lot of calls from existing mortgage holders. There's a lot of calls from people who are getting a renewal coming in and saying, holy shit, this rate's gone through the roof. A lot of calls. We get a lot of calls. That's it. And the theme is the same all the time. What should I do? What should I do? These rates are going way up. My payments are going up. I mean, what are we going to do? And inevitably, although it takes a while to get there, the call rolls around to, should I sell my house? No, not that often, because let's face it, not that often, because let's face it, the people who really don't have to worry much, they have small mortgages, they can handle the increase, they're okay. They don't ask those questions. They just ask, okay, how can I get it a little lower? Tell me the systems to use. But once in a while, those calls roll around to, I don't know how I'm going to handle this at all. All right, so how can you handle it? Like, can people be driven based on rate increases to sell their homes? It's very seldom, by the way. That is statistically, historically low, very low. Well, we had a great indication just back in 2015 in Canada. We had the price of oil drop 85% in a very short period of time in 2015. The Alberta economy was decimated. Job loss was astronomical. It was very, very hard to manage house payments if you've lost an income. And yet, the default was very low. Certain people sold their houses, but not many, because people can find a way. So let's go back to what's happening today. Very sharp increase in payment, much sharper than we've experienced in the past. Like people used to say, oh, well, this is the geezer talk. I'll put on my geezer accent, okay? Oh, well, and I was getting a house. It was 18%, and then it went to, we managed it all. Okay, yeah, bullshit. But because the house was like 1/10 the price. The houses, you're buying a house for $179,000. You had a mortgage for $114,000. Yes, and by the way, when it went to 18%, it was 14%. So the truth is that they were increases, but they were not as sharp and massive as these, and as fast as these increases. People are going from, in some cases, $299 to $649. That's double, more than double, and that did not happen back in 1980 something. Okay, it did not. 1979, 1980 some, 280 whatever. It did not happen. Like it was 14s, 15s to 18s. Sure, it's huge, but difficult. Sure, but not that speed, not that short a time, not that massive an increase. So people are confronted with the idea, will I have to sell my house? Now, again, very few. This is not a massive amount of these calls. People call about what to do, but they aren't all saying they have to sell their homes. But what we do hear more of is people with multiple rental properties. People with multiple rental properties are the most affected because in some cases, they cannot increase the rents that quickly, even though rents have gone sky high in Ontario and British Columbia and in Alberta. I heard Calgary's up huge, like 40% the rents are. But you can't increase them that much. In Ontario, there's still some rent controls. I mean, you can only increase your rent like 2.5% if the property was bought at a certain time in the past. Like, you just can't raise it that fast. So some people have leases, can't go up that fast. Lease governs. So if your payment is jumping substantially 40, 50, 55, 60%, and you can't raise the rents to cover that kind of a massive increase, should you sell? Well, the correct answer is probably yes. In the rental space. In the rental space, if you own 2 or 3 and selling the one that will generate the most cash will give you the buffer to keep the other ones, to my mind, that's just sensible. I mean, why not? It's not a valid assumption to believe that the price of real estate in Southern Ontario will just go up for eternity. Like, that's not a valid belief. So if that's not true, if it's maybe only going to increase marginally for the next few years, then, or it might even go down next year, then sell, free up cash, manage your other properties. It's just business. That's what rents are. It's just business. It's not a religion about price increases in real estate. It's a business. If you have to liquidate some to maintain the others, not a bad idea. For people who are under pressure in their prime residence, where they live, where they raise their families, there's other ways. I mean, you can go to your bank. You can ask for increased amortization. You may not get it, but you can definitely ask for it. You can think about taking in a boarder, renting out a room. You can think about getting another gig to help bring in some extra cash. You can think about a lot of different things other than just when you cut down household expenses, but that only goes so far. But there's other methods. Hold on to your house. Here's the truth. If you're in there for the long term, it's disruptive to sell. You may come up with some cash. You have a family to think about. Do your very best. But don't say that sale's impossible, but it might be a good idea to hold on because rates will not be high forever. It's unlikely that rates will stay in this range of 6 to 7% forever. They will come down eventually. People with rentals, a little different because those rates will come down, but they may never come down enough to justify maintaining the negative cash flow. So people with rentals should consider selling. But for people who own their own home and want to stay in it, there's many other systems to employ. Think about it, work on it, and try to stay. That's my best advice.